Was an eyesore for
yes.
I mean, I'm going to say 5, 6, 7 years maybe, if not more.
Probably longer than that. I can't even remember the last time somebody was actually in
I think
that
it was
building.
like a small newspaper stand. It was a Tiamo, and that it had to be 7, 8 years probably, but it just fell into disrepair and broken windows and everything else.
And just pushing to get that into the right hands to make sure that somebody would buy it who would actually restore it. And you'll see if you go by the building, you'll see in the windows
they've got
the pictures of the restoration that they plan to do.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it really brings it back to circa Peekskill, circa 1960
absolutely.
at its inception.
And so when you look at the renovations, so we come down Main Street, then you make the L onto North Division Street, and that streetscape improvement project is probably 80% done. But right outside that block, we have new development going on as well. So you have John Ford getting very close to finishing his Ford Music Hall, which is right on the corner of Division Street and Broad.
Opposite
and Brown.
The coffee house.
Right opposite the coffee house. This is at the end of the block where the Paramount is. And then across the street from that, the big Riley building has been purchased by new owners who are going to do a rehab of that whole property as well.
Right, that was the old Riley building.
Yes, so it anchors that whole part of Division Street from south to north with three major restoration projects that are underway.
And then you've had, you've had Trattoria Valencia, a new restaurant
new restaurants. Oh yeah, between Trattoria Valencia, 12 Grapes, which was the former Susan's location.
Right.
The Bean Runner Cafe has opened up. One of the Hispanic restaurants on Main Street, El Alguel, has expanded into the neighboring storefront, and they've now brought music in as well. And so you're seeing all of the restaurants in the downtown start to introduce music in other venues. And so just about any night of the week, you could go someplace and eat and hear music.
Sure, that little strip there is that block and a half is between 4 or 5 either restaurants or coffee houses. There's always, and the Paramount. I mean, it's hopping sometimes at nighttime. You know.
And then when you go to Bank Street, the Hispanic restaurant El Conquistador has expanded and did a major renovation to that restaurant this past year. And then where the Modern Bake Shop used to be, El Cisne, the Hispanic restaurant that opened there, is doing an expansion as well.
And also the Panaderia or Panderia.
A new bakery has come in right on Park Street, and so to me it's exciting to just see all of these new restaurants coming in. And they're all doing well.
Well, that's the key. It's not just bringing in a store and and opening it up, and then 5 months to 9 months later, it's like, locked. You see all the paper or the soap on the window, and and unfortunately, we were going through that for quite a stretch.
We were, and it's actually good to see that the restaurants are doing well. And I think people feel that the streets are safe. They come around. I hear that a lot now from people from outside Peekskill who visit the restaurants. They're drawn in by one attraction or the other, and they wander around, and they're like, wow, this feels like a new city. And there's a lot of activity. So people are actually forgiving us for all the work we're doing on the roads, and they're still finding a place to park and to come.
Now, the one thing, though, that I question, and I know I actually caught you one day, you were up in the north end of Cortland looking at the roundabout and off of Oregon Road, because I know I was right behind you. I'm saying to myself, I think I recognize her. What is she doing out there? There's a little strip as you come from the eastbound lane going west, and where the old Offenbeckers is.
The traffic island, yes.
Yeah, the traffic island. I see trucks never being able to negotiate that curve. I mean, I hope it's something that stays, because I understand it's there for the pedestrian traffic.
Right.
But I just worry about that. I don't think that's going to stay there.
I have raised that question a number of times to our acting city manager. He has been on the phone a number of times with the county. Mike Kaplowitz raised it with the county as well, in terms of what is it ultimately going to look like. Because right now, if it's only going to have what I was told is a 2-inch reveal of the curb to the asphalt, I said, okay, so at night, someone coming down there, there's nothing on it. It's just sort of like a little raised concrete thing in the middle of Main Street. Will people even see it?
Yeah.
I mean, do I want a pedestrian standing on it?
Well, what I'm worried about is you're going to see a lot of tire tracks over that thing.
But I'm told there will be a pole and there'll be other things on it, so we'll see. But everybody's watching that.
We're giving it a chance, but I think the sidewalk supervisors all agree that's not going to last much longer.
It was a county design. They swear by it. It will help calm traffic and trucks, so we'll all just have to see.
Yes,
we'll give it a chance.
Okay, now heading down, so now How much longer would you say that would take? Another
I am told
intersection?
that whole project is supposed to be wrapped up by the latest mid-August.
Okay.
It's running ahead of schedule.
Month and a half, 2 months, something like that. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so now that let's move out of downtown Peekskill, let's move towards the DPW, the old garage.
Yes.
What happened? It's gone.
No, the old incinerator building is gone. The garage is still there, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The garage is still there. That's right.
Yes, the garage is still there. Actually,
well, the incinerator was where they kept the sand and salt.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
right.
salt.
Yeah, salt.
So, yes, we had an old incinerator building that was brick with steel, and we kept the salt in there, which meant it eventually kept rotting the steel.
Right.
But it was also an eyesore.
It was.
And a year ago, the council was pushing for the incinerator building to be taken down, to bring in a proper salt dome, and to really make improvements to the whole DPW garage facility. It really needed a significant facelift.
With Riverbend right up the street and the new Louisa ball field, and then just crossing over to John Walsh Boulevard, it just made no sense. Everything is almost brand new, and you've got this thing that's like, what is this? It's.
And the shame is that the facilities for our workers were a horror as well, and so they needed new locker rooms, enhanced bathrooms, the way the trucks were stored, the materials were stored, the fencing, the lack of landscaping. There's no asphalt. There's always dirt.
So you already have now. I know the building has been raised, and
so the incinerator building was demolished. The whole, I guess you'd call it, north side of the garage area has been leveled. So there was a lot of material that was brought in from a site down the street, mixed in with the materials from the incinerator building, the old brick, crushed, and we did layers and layers of, I don't know, I'd call it heavy urban soil, with rollers going over it to make a very solid foundation. Oh. And so the cement foundation has already been poured and cured for the salt dome. The middle of next week, the brick, the side concrete blocks, and the materials for the salt dome starts to get delivered and assembled on site.
Sure, because what they do is it's really, the salt domes are like only a base of, let's say, 5-6 feet of wall, really, of concrete block. The rest are those either plastic, canvas.
You sort of think of it as the Army canvas type of material that will house the salt. But at the same time, we've just let out a contract to improve all the fencing around the DPW garage. The acting city manager has given the director of city services the instructions about moving the sign equipment out of the locker room into another area and starting to work on the improvements to the facilities for our workers.
The actual garage
and cleaning up and getting the asphalt laid down and actually cleaning up the rest of the site. So it will start to look like a more appropriate work site.
A clean working area.
And it would look clean and safe and something at least more presentable. Meanwhile, we've done a whole community-driven planning process for the rest of Lower South Street, from Louisa down to Welcher, in that whole area, in terms of, what is the community's vision for that whole stretch. There's some land in that area the city already owns. There's some land the city has the contract to buy. There's land along Louisa Street the city has the contract to buy. And part of it is, what is the type of development that our residents want? And can we come up with a development concept that keeps some of the industrial companies there, but work in other compatible types of industry into that area? And so we had three community-driven meetings. The staff is still in the process of assembling all of the input and the ideas. And we'll be able to really start redeveloping that whole stretch of Lower South Street that needs significant infrastructure improvements.
But the difference is rather than it be contractor or developer driven, it's actually now the city is in control of these properties or contracted with these properties. So now we have more of a say as a city, and even you as a mayor and the council to represent your constituents to say, wait a minute, we don't want them telling us what to do. We're going to tell them what we're looking for.
And what happens is it makes it then a lot easier for the city to go out and recruit the kinds of development projects that are compatible with what the community wants. So it's not sitting there waiting for somebody to approach us, but rather we now have some targets that we can go after ourselves and go bring in the
clearly
kind of
defined so that there's no misunderstanding.
Right, and it's great when it's developed from the community forward, because it will at some point require rezoning, From a developer's perspective, they already know they're not going to be wasting years and millions of dollars on a project that isn't going to go anywhere.
Sure.
Because it will already be, we'll recruit people who will match the interests of our community.
Sure, the community's already basically said,
Right.
This is what we're looking for.
Right,
So
and
at
so
that
now
point,
go get it.
yeah, exactly.
Makes it easier.